Welcome to MYP2's Language and Literature class. Today's focus is sensory language. Here are today's essential questions. Why do authors use sensory language? How should we evaluate the use of sensory language? How can sensory language set mood? How can sensory language foreshadow events? How can sensory language convey an author's intent? Please pause this video and take down the essential questions in the notes section of your Cornell Notes. Then please attempt to answer at least 2 of these essential questions. Pause the video until you have taken down the questions in the notes section of your Cornell Notes and answered at least 2. The TEKS that we will be working with today are 5.8a, which we will be reviewing from 5th grade, and we will be achieving mastery in 7.8a, which is the 7th grade TEK for sensory language, mood, and imagery. The statement of inquiry for today is authors use careful diction to appeal to the senses, create imagery, set mood, and fulfill the audience imperative. Now please listen while I read a narration. The narration will have carefully chosen diction to portray certain imagery and sensory appeals. Pay attention to what intent is behind the sensory language you hear and what mood is set by the diction. The night was the kind of dark that sat heavy on the chest and thick in the lungs with each shallow breath. In and out. In and out. The dampness of the thick fog covered everything in cool slime the way mucus coats the mottled wood frog who has buried himself beneath winter soil to die. The dead and dying grass and weeds were calf-high and scratched at Elle's legs as she followed the ancient, overgrown path stones that caught the sliver of barely there moonlight like pale ghosts rising from the dark ground. Eventually, Elle's path brought her into the shadow of that old and forgotten home. She shivered, rubbing her arms to try to soothe the goose flesh that grew across her skin, in response to the eerie silence that seemed to grow oppressive as she reached the aged steps to the old, bent porch that crossed the front of the house, like the forced expression of a mortician's masterpiece. Carefully, slowly, he stepped onto the porch, ducking the tendrils of fine spider silk that hung from the many webs that covered the ceiling of the porch. Careful of the broken boards and gaping holes, she crossed the slightly open, rusty screen door. She opened the door slowly, hearing nothing but her own heart relentlessly pounding the drums that forced blood through her body. Inside, the old wooden board was coated with dirt and dust. The room was completely dark, and she turned on the torch as she stepped inside. The light from the torch shook over a room that was nearly empty except for the dirt and cobwebs and a cold and barren fireplace. Elle took a deep breath and stepped inside. Bam! The door slammed right behind her. Here are your challenges. What was the mood that was set by the narration? What words and phrases, text evidence, contributed to the setting of that mood? The transcript can be found at the Google Docs link that is provided here. How did the author's diction fulfill the audience imperative? Predict one possible future event foreshadowed by the words and phrases of the narration. Provide text evidence. You should work with a partner to overcome the challenges provided.